they can teach you. So I think if you come to the space of what I know is the framework, I know the principles, and yes, I can probably go faster than somebody that doesn't know. But then now agree that I now need to know how to implement that framework. And remember that this framework can be implemented in like 3,000 ways. It has to be adapted to the context at every point in time. We talked about the industries, right? I have used the same experience to work in FMCG. Okay. The same experience or the same skills, not experience, skills to work in tech. And you would say, two different industries. Yes. But actually, when it comes to skill sets, it's actually the same. You just need to know how to adapt it. Why? I have the framework. I have used the same framework to work in oil and gas. Because why? And now the question is, okay, how can you do tech? How can you do FMC? How can you do oil and gas? These three industries clearly don't even merge in any shape or form. It doesn't. One is where it's factory based. You have to produce quickly. You have to sell quickly. You have to do. One is a bit more futuristic. A lot of people don't even know what they're doing yet. Google has this today. Apple has this tomorrow. So you're designing things that don't exist. For people that don't even know what their problem is in the first place, right? So it's extremely innovative. And then one is very compliance based, very heavy. Traditional. Oil and gas has always been there. So now, how do you apply the same skills to all three?
To harness all those things.
And you can still succeed is because once you acknowledge that, you have a framework that is adaptable, the question is, what are the differences? So I've just told you what the differences of this industry are. So when I'm bringing the framework, I already understand that because they have these differences, I have to adapt, in how it works for all three, and that is what helps you succeed. But if you go into it and say, you know what, I am good, I know all the theory, so what? It's not going to work, and I think that's kind of how you can say, I'm going to develop my career, because you also need to ask yourself, what do you really, really want, in 5 years' time? Why didn't I go back to engineering? Because after a while, I said, you know what? It's going to take me a lot to become chief engineer in future, in 20 years' time. Of course, when I was much younger, right? And I'm like, if it's going to take me, because to be chief engineer, I have to be a technical expert. So that means that it's a continuous learning that I have to become that chief engineer, right? But I'm like, actually, to be chief strategy officer, chief marketer, chief whatever, I just need one or two things and a lot of management experience, right?
To
add to it, and I'll be fine. Even to be CEO, I'm like, I just need a lot of management experience. Even to be CEO, I don't need to keep on reading and all. And so I said, you know what, I'm not going back to engineering. I'm going to stay in the management space. For me as an engineer, it was easier. Maybe someone in the management space, it wasn't. I don't know. But for me, it was. I'm like,
there's nothing doing there that is really, really tough.
I'm like, it's not tough for me. I'd rather just stay here rather than having to requalify for offshore or having to learn some equipment every time, having to always have the safety, drilling, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm happy to stay here. But it's also but obviously my own desire is different, to somebody else
who wants to actually do that particular
exactly
thing. That means you have to
be ready for everything. But and so I think one of the critical things is, if you understand what it takes to get to the edge, to the top of your career, like when all the people I mentor, when they tell me, I always say, don't come with titles, come with a space or a skill or an area. But even with that, I ask them, can you check people that are 20 years, 30 years, that are at the top? What do they earn? How are they? What have they had to do? What's their biography? What have you checked? Don't think that you're just going to frog leap. What did they put into it? And some people tell me, I want to be an entrepreneur. Like, okay, fine. Have you read famous entrepreneur? Richard Branson is an easy one. Have you read what he went through? Do you understand what he had to do to be one? You take what's his name now? The Microsoft guy.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, thank you. Personally, I don't think he's an entrepreneur. That's the truth. I think because of he made money from his scientific brain, right? And with that money, is able to fund entrepreneurial ventures.
But we can if you are not looking if you are looking not if you are not looking at him as an entrepreneur, maybe we can say Jeff Bezos, Amazon.
Jeff Bezos could be, but I'm just saying that these are the kind of things I push people to go. Because if you think of Bill Gates, because somebody says, "Oh, I want to be like Bill Gates," I was like, but Bill Gates was more an innovative guy.
Yeah.
So he did an innovation that made him money, and then he took the money and then started investing into entrepreneurial ventures, and all that.
Foundation.
Exactly. So his own path was an innovation path, right? Yeah. Compared to Richard Branson, which is an idea generator. So he's consistently an idea generator. But is he a fantastic CEO? No, he's not. He brings people to come and manage the company because that's not his strength. But the idea, no problem. But you take Jeff Bezos, like you rightly said, Amazon. He's actually a good company manager. He is. So he's actually a good CEO. So even if he's not an entrepreneur, he would have been fantastic. Even just,
being a CEO.
Being a management person. Exactly.
Yeah.
So when people say, I want to be an entrepreneur, I also ask them, so I'm even saying, even if you're not going for corporates, right, and you're just saying, I want to start my own thing, I ask them, do you understand what it means? Are you the idea generator, which means that you're not necessarily good with management, so you need to know that. Or are you the management guy, but you're not necessarily the idea generator, or you can magnify the idea, right? Or are you the innovator, like Bill Gates?
Bill Gates, yeah.
Or like our Facebook guy also. He's also not a manager, but he's the ideator of it. So it's kind of like you need to define what, and so this definition is always important at every point in time. Is what do I want to do? It's tough. It's not easy. It's not like I'm just going to lay down and just imagine, how money is going to fall.
I know.
I wish it can fall, right?
We need to understand that there must be an effort being put in place before. Without it, there's nothing you can achieve without. That's very because for what you are saying now means that you need to also understand, identify where you are coming from, what you can. Like your own decision, you decided that this space is good for you. It's going to be a lot easier for you to get to where you wanted to be, instead of going back to what you initially studied, because it's going to. But some people, maybe you are looking at your age at that particular time, and you don't want to go through that kind of stress. That maybe you are looking for the easy way for you, and it's good. It's your decision. But some people who wants to go, they can as well take that decision. It's now left for them to look at it. So, if it is your desire, because I remember that some people who study engineering, and at the end of the day, when they finished, they still want to become a lawyer. They went back to school to study law.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really matter. So it is your choice. It's a matter of choice. But look at what would be the end game. What do you actually want to become in future? But from what I'm seeing recently, because you are still with this Sabi, or you are not? So right now, I believe what you are trying to do, what you are doing presently, is more or less like a consulting kind of So now, if it is like that, were you certified to be a consultant in that space, or maybe because of what you've had before qualifies you to?
It's just my previous experience that qualifies me in there. It's not because I have a certificate. And that's what I meant by, once you have a framework, it can be applied. I've always done a lot of things in strategy space and operations. And so the applicability is super simple. For me, strategy always starts with knowing the data. And once you understand the data, so what? What does it mean? How do you apply the data for business growth? So it's the same framework, regardless of the industry. If you go into the data, it could take you like a whole month or even 2 months to literally research and get the data. But you also have to know what you're looking for, by the way. You know, you get the data, then you're able to distill it to say, what does this mean for business growth? How does this impact the business? And the second you have those parameters and KPIs spelled out, the rest is simple. It's now about how do you automate things, how do you ensure, and it's easy for me to talk about automation. Like I said, I'm coming from tech space, so I understand what automation can do. How do you automate those things? How do you make it visible? How do you drive business decisions, you know, at an executive level? How do you help make what I would call agile decisions? How do you then move this into innovative way of thinking or innovative way of working? You know, all businesses talk about lean structure. But like I told someone recently, I'm like, there's lean structure and there's lean culture. So a lot of business focus on the fact that,
lean culture.
They focus on the structure. They would say, we need only 2 people to do this job. But the lean culture is systems based. If you don't have the system to enable the culture, you're not going to get the culture. And the culture is bigger than the structure. Because once the culture is there, people don't even have a need for the extra people. But everybody focuses on, I need to cut a head count. So the head count, you cut it. Okay, but are you going to kill the guys that are doing the work? There's no culture to enable them. And then when you talk culture, people always think culture as, you know, is words, you know. So we just be telling them, we need to have a lean culture. You need to, it's not by voice or by word. Lean culture is activated, is enabled. You know, it's something that it's invisible to the guys, but it's actually their ways of working. So, and the second you put a way of working that makes their life simple. The lean culture starts to come in. So these are things that, you know, I kind of work on with organizations, but it's the same framework. It starts from the same basis. You just need to know. It's almost like, you know, a sailor, just by the way the wind is blowing, it can tell you what's going to happen. So you just need to have mastered that for a while, and then after a while, you know, the sailor, it doesn't matter the type of water
or the kind of waves
kind of waves, he knows, he can tell you, the prediction exactly. Because it's been over the years. You know, yes, even if you went to sailor school, the being on the sea is the real thing. You know, just like pilots, no matter the amount of simulations you do,